The movie begins in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a boat carrying a group of marine scientists. We see that the ocean is filled with a huge amount of garbage, all because of humans and the pollution they cause on beaches and in the seas. We meet the boat's captain, Sophia, while her husband Chris is recording a video of her, as they are preparing research to present to officials to prove that marine life is being destroyed by this pollution. Suddenly, two crew members, Juan and his girlfriend Jade, come in and tell them that they picked up a signal from the tracking device of the shark they've been monitoring for a while. Juan, Chris, and another crew member put on their diving suits and head into the water to search for the shark. They jump into the water, following the markers sent from above. The group keeps looking around until they discover a dead whale, clearly attacked by something. Chris approaches the whale and finds massive bite marks on it. Suddenly, a huge shark swims right past Chris, but he manages to pull back just in time before getting eaten. Moments later, a large number of sharks swarm around the group, focusing on the whale's body. Chris decides that the team should move away so the sharks won't attack them. From the control room above, Jade tells them that the signal is getting extremely close. Then Chris and Juan look ahead and freeze in shock when they see a giant shark. They had named her Lilas because she's female. In the control room, both Jade and Sophia are just as shocked. Lilas is 7 meters long, which is a big problem because just 2 months earlier she was only 2.5 meters long. Sophia tells Chris she wants a sample from Lilas, either blood or flesh. Chris gets close and shoots a dart into her belly. The shark gets furious and speeds away, then suddenly turns back and circles around them. It terrifies them and attacks the group, killing one of them. Everyone screams as she takes them down one by one. Sophia can't just sit and watch, so she immediately puts on her diving suit and jumps into the water. Jade tries to stop her but can't. As soon as Sophia gets in the water, she swims forward until she comes across a severed arm, and realizes it's Chris's arm. She screams, and Lilas approaches her, swimming very slowly beside her without attacking. Then Lilas moves away and stares at Sophia, who realizes an attack is coming. Sophia grabs her grappling gun to defend herself and fires, managing to hit the shark, but Lilas is too fast, and the dart doesn't harm her. Instead, Lilas gets Sophia's leg tangled in a fishing net and drags her rapidly into the deep ocean. Sophia sinks deeper and deeper, getting exhausted as blood leaks from her nose, ears, and mouth due to the pressure. She suddenly remembers she has a knife, pulls it from her leg, and cuts herself free. She swims upward as fast as she can, bleeding heavily, but she refuses to give up. She finally reaches the surface and survives Lilas's attack. 3 years later we move to Paris, where 2 young men are fishing anything they can sell from the river. One of them pulls something extremely heavy with his hook, and when they manage to bring it up, they're shocked. It looks like a bomb. They call the police immediately. The police and bomb squad arrive, handle the situation, and successfully defuse it. A police officer named Adele gives a press interview, explaining that they often find such bombs in the river because they're remnants of World War II. His supervisor calls him away to return to his duties. We then move to the Marine Sample Center, a place for school trips where children and adults learn about sea life. We see that Sophia now works there teaching students about marine creatures. She encourages them to protect marine life, explaining that without fish, the world's balance would collapse. A student interrupts her, asking if her team really got eaten by sharks. Sophia doesn't answer and starts to tear up. She walks away as the children laugh. Suddenly, a woman named Meg stops her and says she's one of her biggest fans and follows everything about her. Sophia doesn't care and tries to leave, but Meg says the phrase, 7, which is the scientific code name for Lilas. Sophia freezes, and Meg takes her to a place where she claims they can track Lilas. Sophia is shocked when she enters and sees that everyone there is deeply involved in the subject. Young people passionate about marine life, yet the place operates without government approval, which means they would all be arrested if discovered. They take her to a hacker named Ben, who shows them the location of Lilas, and the shocking part is that Lilas has crossed the Pacific and is now in the same river where the 2 young men were fishing. Sophia tells them this is impossible, that Lilas would die because she's a shark and cannot survive in freshwater. But Ben reveals that some sharks can live in freshwater, and Lilas must be one of them. Meg explains that Lilas likely left the ocean because of pollution and accidentally ended up in Paris while searching for a new habitat. Meg insists they must return her to the Pacific as fast as possible. She tells Sophia that she and Ben will dive into the river to look for Lilas and asks Sophia to join them since her experience might save them. But Sophia refuses, saying Lilas is extremely dangerous. Sophia leaves, but Meg stops her and tells her that someone recently fell into the river, and when the police searched for the body, they found nothing, meaning Lilas probably ate him. Meg tells her she has to help before Lilas kills someone else. But Sophia didn't care and walked away. She went back home and started watching the last recordings she had filmed with her team on the boat, but she couldn't continue. She always reached the video where Lilas devours Chris, and she would break down in tears. Sophia suspected that the shark was actually in the area Meg had mentioned. Sophia decided to confirm it herself. She opened her laptop and noticed that Lilas really was in the Paris River. We returned to Ben and Meg, who were in the middle of the river where the shark was located. They were standing under a bridge above the water, and Meg decided to go down alone. Once she was in the water, she started looking for any clues and reached the car of the man who had crashed earlier. Meg found shark bite marks on the car, then felt movement behind her and panicked. Ben, who was on top of the bridge, noticed a police boat passing by. She tried to pull the rope Meg was tied to, but she couldn't lift her out, so she panicked and ran, leaving the rope behind. Meg was underwater directly beneath the police boat and decided to surface. The officers grabbed her immediately. Ben watched from a distance, unable to get closer. At that moment, Sophia had arrived at the bridge and saw Meg being arrested. After the officers took Meg into custody, they brought her to the station for questioning. On their way, they stopped near some homeless people to give them clothes and blankets. Officer Adele was part of the patrol. Then they continued toward the station. Meanwhile, Sophia was tracking the shark, until she reached the same area where the homeless people had been. She noticed one of their dogs barking toward the water. None of the homeless people who were there earlier could be found. We then see the shark swimming underwater, far from Sophia, making it clear what happened to those homeless people. The shark had eaten them. The next day, Meg was still at the police station from the night before. Officer Adele was interrogating her and suspected she had gone into the river because of the accident that happened a few days earlier. Meg gave an uneasy smile, then admitted that there was a shark in the river. Of course, Adele didn't believe her and asked her to tell the truth. Suddenly, one of the female officers rushed in and told Adele there was an emergency. Since last night, Sophia had been tracking Lilas nonstop. She finally reached the last location where the shark had stopped moving. A little girl was playing near that area, so Sophia shouted to warn her and pulled her away from danger. The girl's father got angry, took his daughter, and left. Sophia's phone rang, and shortly after, we see her with Officer Adele, who brought her to show her something because Meg had requested her presence. Meg explained that she had no choice but to call her. Adele showed them the body of one of the homeless men we saw the day before. They found him in the water in that state, his body torn apart. He asked Sophia if this was caused by a shark or something similar. She confirmed it was the shark. Adele then had to take her along with his team and the police captain to present the case of the shark. When he showed the captain the pictures of the man, she refused to believe it, saying anything could have killed him except a shark, insisting it was impossible. But Sophia told her she had been tracking this shark for years and was certain Lilas wasn't wrong this time. The shark was really in the river. The captain ordered Adele to take his team along with Sophia to the location shown on the tracker. She told him that if he actually found a shark, he needed to deal with it immediately. Adele and his team began preparing their equipment. They took one of the police boats, and Sophia went with them, guiding them to the shark's location using the device connected to her laptop. Meg followed them from behind on the road, without any of the officers noticing. After Sophia pinpointed the exact spot, Adele and the team started getting ready and put on their diving gear. Sophia noticed that the shark wasn't moving from its place, so she asked Adele about the river's depth. He told her it was only 5 meters. Sophia was surprised. If the depth was that shallow, the shark should have been visible. Adele replied that maybe there wasn't a shark at all, continuing to deny everything. Once the team finished preparing, the police divers entered the water and began searching for the shark. Suddenly, they find a large fish with its body brutally torn apart, and this is used as a sign that the creature must have come from the ocean. Meanwhile, Meg was on the phone with her friend Ben, asking her to disable the shark's tracking signal that Sophia used. Ben told her that doing so could have cost the people with her their lives, but Meg insisted that their deaths would be easier to accept than killing the shark, because stopping it would destroy the environment. Ben had no choice but to do what Meg asked, just so her friend wouldn't get angry. And indeed, the signal disappeared from Sophia's device. Sophia asked Adele to get the team out of the water, because the officers felt something moving around them. The shark was circling and even seemed to smile at them. When the team surfaced, they confirmed to Adele that they felt movement in the water and that it really could have been a shark. One of the officers asked Adele to activate the boat's sonar to check for anything large in the water. Adele turned the device on, and it immediately showed a massive object beneath them. Adele exploded in anger at Sophia, accusing her of almost getting his entire team killed and of being the one who caused the tracking signal to disappear. He put his hand on her shoulder to guide her back to shore, but Sophia yelled at him to stay away from her. Suddenly, Sophia's old wound started bleeding, revealing that she still hadn't recovered from the accident that happened to her team. She told Adele she would walk down on her own, and she did. When Sophia reached the shore, she saw Meg, and the moment Meg saw her, she ran away. A little later, Sophia went to the place Meg had taken her before, and she found both Meg and Ben there. Sophia yelled at Meg for cutting off the signal, telling her she could have killed the entire team just like what happened to her previous team. But Meg snapped back, telling her that her team died because she wasn't with them. Sophia apologized, but Meg told her not to bring up those memories again and walked away. Back at the station, Adele met with the commander. He asked her to declare a state of emergency in the city so they could eliminate the shark, but she refused. We learned that a huge event, the triathlon, was happening in a few days, and it included a swimming race in the river where the shark was. The commander told him that the mayor would never cancel it because journalists from all over the world were coming, and the budget for the event was enormous. She said she would increase security at the event, and that was the end of the discussion. That same night, Meg appeared in a live stream on her social media accounts and told everyone about the shark in the river. She said the shark needed to be rescued and returned to the ocean instead of killed, and that fishermen kill more than 100 million sharks every year, urging people not to be like them. At that moment, Adele was in his office researching Sophia's past and discovered everything she had been through. He decided to go meet her, went to her workplace, apologized for upsetting her, and suggested that they both speak directly to the mayor about the shark. The next day, they met the mayor along with the police commander. They asked her to cancel the event because of the massive shark in the river, but she refused and showed them a model of the city as it would look on the day of the event. She admitted that the event's budget reached $1.7 billion. She ordered them to get rid of the shark, then dismissed them. After that, Sophia and Adele began preparing the team that would go into the water. Sophia gave them instructions and told them she no longer had another tracking device because it had malfunctioned. She said the plan was to lure the shark between 2 bridges so it could be trapped, and once captured, it would be transported to the port, then to the Ocean Science Institute for study. Sophia showed Adele a video explaining how to handle the shark during capture and how to inject it with the sedative. Suddenly, Ben interrupted them, saying she came to confess something serious. They took her to the commander's office and began questioning her. Ben told them that the shark was no longer in the river. It was now swimming in a place beneath the city known as the catacombs, a sewer-like area. She also said Meg had gathered a large group of people to show them the shark, believing she could communicate with it. Ben added that she managed to reactivate the signal, and the shark's location appeared in the catacombs. At night, the police moved with Sophia and entered the catacombs through a narrow opening. There they found Meg, who had indeed gathered a crowd. Her plan was to get into the water and show everyone that the shark was gentle and deserved to live, as if it were some kind of dolphin she could play with. Ben tried to stop her, but Meg insisted she was going in no matter what. Meg began lowering herself into the water for her demonstration. The police located the crowd, and Adele requested backup because of how many people were there. He told his team to evacuate them calmly without causing panic. The officers told everyone to stay quiet and stand by the wall so they wouldn't fall into the water. Sophia screamed at Meg to get out of the water because Lilith was dangerous and would hurt her, but Meg refused. The biggest shock came when the shark suddenly appeared next to her, and people realized there were two sharks. Meg touched Lilith to reassure her, but Sophia yelled that Lilith wasn't friendly and would kill her, begging her to get out. Meg refused again, saying the shark hadn't hurt her at all. Suddenly, both sharks circled around Meg, then dove deep beneath her. Sophia swore they were about to attack and begged Meg to leave immediately, but Meg kept refusing. Adele had no choice but to intervene. He tied a rope around his waist so his team could pull him back, then jumped into the water. When he reached Meg, she refused to leave with him and moved away. At that moment, the shark shot upward and swallowed her in front of everyone. Chaos broke out. People ran toward the exit, but the ground was slippery, and most of them fell into the water. The sharks began tearing apart anyone who fell. Ben slipped with the crowd, hit her head, lost consciousness, and unfortunately drowned. One of the officers jumped in to save people, and Adele pulled out his gun, firing at the shark to push it away from the officer. But the shark attacked the officer, bit off his arm, and dragged him underwater. The officer resurfaced, and his colleagues tried to pull him out, but the shark suddenly returned and swallowed him whole. We see the people after they managed to get out of the catacombs of the dead, fleeing in complete chaos. Adele and Sophia try to help them. Sophia sits there, watching the people and feeling guilty because she couldn't save them, but Adele calms her down, telling her it's not her fault. Their conversation is interrupted by a police officer, who asks them to come quickly and takes them to the catacombs. He shows them that the offspring Lilith gave birth to has died. Sophia takes the offspring to the lab to examine it and understand its body and everything about it. She discovers how the shark managed to adapt to fresh water and shows Adele that it has something under its mouth that helps it survive in both fresh water and salt water. Adele asks, "What brought them to the city, specifically to Paris?" Sophia explains that Lilith came to the city because she didn't feel safe in the ocean and is likely to reproduce in the catacombs. Afterward, she would return to the ocean. Sophia opens the shark's belly with a scalpel and discovers that it is female and had been pregnant. The surprising thing is that she doesn't find one or two embryos, but a large number of small embryos inside her. Sophia is astonished. She examines the shark's teeth again and notices that the embryos are less than 2 months old. Then she uncovers an even bigger problem. This type of shark does not need a male to reproduce, nor do they need to mature fully. They can reproduce spontaneously without mating. Sophia realizes that Lilith belongs to a new species of sharks, discovered for the first time in the world. The greater problem is that if these sharks are not eliminated quickly, they will multiply exponentially, dominate all the oceans, and destroy everything. The next day, everyone decides to go to the mayor with the police chief, and the head of the government is also present. When the mayor learns everything about Lilith's species, she tells them they only have 24 hours before the celebration and must eliminate the sharks as instructed earlier. Sophia gets angry at the mayor for not caring about the many lives at risk due to these sharks. However, the mayor orders her to leave the office and tells everyone that the army will secure the celebration at the highest level of protection. The mayor appears on television, and the reporter asks if there really are sharks in the river. She completely denies it, claiming that if there are any, they are under top-level protection, and if not, it's all just rumors. We return to Adele, the police team, and Sophia at a cafe, all frustrated because they cannot act due to the mayor's orders. But Adele and Sophia decide not to give up. They must do something to save the people. Adele gathers his team and the police chief and explains the plan with Sophia. He introduces two explosives experts who will join the mission. Each person takes their role, and then Adele, Sophia, and two others go into the river and head back to the catacombs. They carry a device that emits sound waves mimicking shark sounds to lure all the sharks to one spot in the river. The celebration has begun, with the army, police, and special forces securing the area. The streets and riverbanks are packed with people. The mayor arrives, greets everyone, and gives a press interview. When asked about the sharks, she denies their existence, calling all reports mere rumors. Adele and Sophia are exhausted because they haven't been able to attract even a single shark. Adele decides to activate the device's red light, and when they look up, they are shocked to see a massive number of sharks that have multiplied rapidly. They decide to continue with the plan. The mayor fires her signal, marking the start of the river race. We see the large number of participants in the river. Adele, Sophia, and their team move to a designated area and activate the acoustic device to lure Lilith. Suddenly, Lilith does not come alone. She brings other rapidly grown sharks with her. The sharks attack one team member and devour him instantly, then do the same to the second member. Adele and Sophia quickly place explosives, retreat, and detonate them. A massive underwater explosion occurs, and they manage to escape, though Adele is exhausted. Sophia hands him over to the officers on the boat. Sophia dives back into the water to check if the sharks are dead, but Lilith appears unharmed, along with the other sharks. Instead of attacking Sophia, Lilith heads toward the race participants. Sophia quickly climbs out and warns everyone that Lilith is still alive. Suddenly, Lilith strikes the boat, flipping it over with everyone inside. We see her tearing apart a police officer and devouring a female officer. Adele's entire team is wiped out, leaving only him and Sophia. Adele and Sophia climb onto the overturned boat while the shark circles them. Suddenly, Lilith focuses on the race participants, but her body gets caught in a net, making her movements visible to everyone. Adele and Sophia rush to save the people. Unfortunately, Lilith reaches the participants and begins devouring them one by one. The army intervenes and orders fire on Lilith, but the police chief commands them to stop because there are explosives in the water. Lilith swims underwater, evading all bullets unharmed. At that moment, a bullet hits an underwater bomb, causing it to explode. Bridges start collapsing, and additional explosions occur underwater as remaining bombs detonate. The river level rises dramatically, flooding the city streets. Everyone is submerged, with almost no survivors. Adele and Sophia manage to climb onto a building, looking around in disbelief at the sheer number of sharks swimming everywhere. They realize there is no escape, and the sharks have completely taken over the river and the city of Paris. And with that, we reach the end of our film. If you enjoyed the movie, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.